Have you ever stopped mid-movement and asked yourself, what does this mean? Not in some abstract philosophical way, but in a deeply personal one. What does it mean that you can still carry your groceries without thinking? That you can get up from the floor without grabbing furniture or asking for help? Most people don't give it much thought, until the day they can't. Until a small act of movement becomes an obstacle. But here's the truth. If you're 66, 73, 81 and can still do certain things that most people your age have long given up, then you, my friend, are part of a rare and remarkable group. In fact, the abilities you still have might quietly predict not only your physical longevity, but also your independence, cognitive sharpness, and emotional resilience. These aren't just movements, these are signals, warnings, or reassurances that whisper the truth about how your body and brain are truly aging. So in this video, we're diving into two of these powerful signs of exceptional aging. But stay with me until the end, because one of these will change the way you view your future forever. And yes, along the way, I'll tell you what happened when Frank, at 76, slipped on his icy driveway and had a moment that would have ended very differently for someone else. And what Margaret at 73 discovered when her family hike turned into a quiet battle between fear and freedom. These aren't just stories, they're life lessons from the elderly. Reminders that every move we make holds meaning. But first, if you're someone who values elder reflections, who finds wisdom in stories from seniors who've lived long enough to know what really matters, who believes in the power of motivation, inspiration, and dignity in aging, then like this video, subscribe, and turn on the bell icon so we can keep creating thoughtful, life-affirming content like this. Now let's begin with one of the most silent yet potent predictors of health in old age, grip strength. Imagine this. A man in his mid-70s reaches down to lift a garden pot. Fingers curling around the worn ceramic edge, he lifts it with ease, his forearms flexing, his posture straight. That man is Frank Delaney, age 76, a retired mechanic from Michigan who still maintains a small greenhouse in his backyard. Most wouldn't think twice about his ability to grip or lift, but that's because most don't realize what grip strength really says about you. It's not just about being able to open a pickle jar or shake a hand firmly at church. No, it's far deeper. A strong grip reflects total body muscular integrity, cardiovascular efficiency, and neuromuscular coordination. In fact, studies on senior health show that grip strength is more predictive of longevity than blood pressure or even cholesterol levels. Why? Because it captures the full picture. Your muscle mass, your nerve. Seniors with higher grip strength experience fewer hospitalizations, recover faster from illness, and retain their independence longer. But perhaps the most important thing, grip strength quietly tells us whether your body is fighting time or giving into it. Frank once told me, "I noticed my grip before I noticed anything else. It wasn't that I got stronger, it was that I didn't get weaker." His doctor once remarked that Frank's grip was stronger than some men in their 50s. If Frank didn't achieve that by accident, every morning he does 10 minutes of simple, consistent, and intentional. Why does he do it? Because he watched his father, a war veteran, lose the ability to hold a coffee cup steady. That's when he stopped going out, Frank said. Not because he didn't want to, but because he couldn't trust his hands anymore. And what happened one icy morning reminded Frank why he never stopped training. He was walking to his garage when he slipped on black ice, falling backward with a thud, but instead of panic, he instinctively grabbed the railing with one hand and caught himself mid-fall. His grip held, his hip didn't break, his independence didn't end that morning. That's what's at stake with grip strength. It's not just convenience, it's protection, it's dignity, and most of all, it's a window into how well you are really aging. Now let me ask you, can you still carry your groceries without feeling like you ran a marathon? Can you hold onto a railing with full confidence? If yes, you are among a rare class of seniors whose biological age is younger than the date on your ID. But grip strength isn't the only unsung superpower. The second sign we'll explore today may be even more important and even more rare. It's the ability to get up from the floor without using your hand. I know what you might be thinking. When would I even need to get down on the floor? But the truth is, whether you're playing with your grandkids, stretching after a walk, or reaching for something under the sofa, this movement is more common than you think, and more telling. The ability to go from floor to standing, unassisted, is one of the clearest indicators of full body coordination. It requires core stability, lower body strength, joint mobility, and inner balance. It's the kind of movement that says, I still own my body. Margaret Winslow, a 73-year-old retired librarian from Oregon, still gets up every morning, unrolls her yoga mat, and effortlessly moves from child's pose to standing without ever leaning on furniture. Her friends, many of whom rely on walkers or need assistance just to get out of bed, are in awe. One day, after a community yoga class, one of them joked, "Are you sure you're not 50? Margaret smiled and said, "No, I'm just stubborn." But her mobility would be tested on a family hike last year. They had stopped near a creek to rest when Margaret's foot slipped on a wet rock. She tumbled down, not hard but far enough that her adult children rushed toward her. But before they could even reach her, she had rolled to her side, placed one foot under her body, shifted her weight forward, and stood up, hands free. Her grandchildren cheered. Her daughter's jaw dropped. Later, her son told her, "Mom, most people your age would have needed an ambulance." But Margaret simply said, "That's why I stretch every day. I'm not trying to be young, I'm trying to stay independent." And this isn't anecdotal. Research supports what Margaret and others like her prove daily. Seniors who can get up from the floor without assistance have lower rates of falls, better cardiovascular markers, and even improved cognitive function. Why? Because movements like these require coordination between your brain, muscles, joints, and reflexes. When you train them, you preserve the whole system. When you ignore them, they slowly fade. And with them, your freedom. So pause for a second and ask yourself, when was the last time I tried to sit cross-legged on the floor? Could I get up without leaning on a chair, a table, or someone's arm? If you can rejoice, that's no small thing. It is a rare trait among seniors. But if you can't, that's okay. This isn't about shame, it's about awareness. And with awareness comes the power to change. Because it's never too late to rebuild strength, regain mobility, and rewrite the story of your aging. What have we seen so far? 2 subtle, invisible abilities that say more about your future than any test or scan. The first is grip strength, is your silent shield against decline. The second, floor mobility, is your ultimate signal of independence. And yet both are rarely talked about in doctors' offices or health checkups. Why? Because they're simple. But simple doesn't mean small. In fact, it's often the simplest things that carry the deepest wisdom. Like the kind of wisdom our elders passed down. Not through lectures, but through example, through action, through quiet strength, and that's exactly what this series is about. Bringing those elderly reflections, senior health insights, and motivational life lessons back into the spotlight. Here's what you should take away. If you still have these 2 abilities, strong grip strength and the ability to get up from the floor unassisted, you're part of a rare and powerful minority. You are aging not just well, but exceptionally. If you've lost one of these skills, don't panic. Let this be a signpost, not a sentence. Because with intention, practice, and a bit of humility, you can rebuild what time has tried to take. And if you're somewhere in between, still holding strong but noticing small shifts, consider this your wake-up call. Not to panic, but to protect what you still have. Because once it's gone, it's much harder to get back. Next, we'll explore 2 more rare indicators of exceptional aging. Your posture and your ability to rise from a chair without using your hands. And we'll revisit Frank after the fall, and Margaret after the hike. Both of them faced quiet battles that reminded them, and us, why these small abilities matter more than most people realize. Aging doesn't have to be about decline. It can be about strength, resilience, even evolution. You just have to listen to what your body's been trying to tell you all along. There's something we don't talk enough about when it comes to aging, and that's how we carry ourselves. Not in terms of confidence, though that's important too. I mean literally. How we hold our bodies upright as we move through the world. And the truth is, if you're over 65 and can still maintain good posture and rise from a chair without using your hands, you are far ahead of the curve. These aren't random skills. These are biological miracles that are slowly disappearing from the aging population. And they reveal a deeper truth. You're not just aging, you're aging exceptionally. In this part, we're going to unpack 2 more rare abilities. The power of posture and the ease of rising from a seated position unaided. Let's begin with posture. If you're still able to stand straight, walk without a hunch, and sit upright without constantly adjusting, you are displaying something that the majority of seniors have already lost. And it's not just about looking younger or more confident. Though many people will assume you're a decade younger just by how you walk, it's about something deeper. Posture reflects your spinal alignment, your core engagement, your back muscle strength, and even your breathing capacity. When you stand tall, your lungs expand more fully. Your oxygen intake increases, your brain receives more blood flow. Your balance stabilizes. But when you're hunched over, all of those systems get compromised. Your center of gravity shifts forward. You begin to feel more fatigued because your body is working harder to stay upright. And that's when the slow creep of decline begins. Fatigue, joint stiffness, shortness of breath, even digestive problems. So when I say posture matters, I don't mean it in some polite, aesthetic way. I mean it as a clinical predictor of aging outcomes. And here's where we come back to a man we briefly met earlier. Frank Delaney, now 76. After that fall on his driveway, the one he survived thanks to his grip strength, Frank realized something else. While he had the strength to hold himself up, he struggled more than expected to get back upright. Not because of weakness, but because his posture had quietly shifted over the years. He had spent so long leaning slightly forward, shoulders rounded from years of working at a bench, that his spine had started to curve without him noticing. That's when his doctor explained the impact of postural alignment on balance. Frank started doing simple posture drills, standing with his back against the wall, doing shoulder retractions, practicing Tai Chi to engage his core. Within 6 months, his posture was so improved that his neighbor asked if he'd gotten taller. And the best part, he reported feeling more energetic than he had in years, more stable, more confident. He said something that stuck with me. I didn't realize how heavy the hunch was until I stood straight again. And that brings us to the second powerful sign, the ability to rise from a chair without using your hands. At first glance, this seems minor, a detail, but for seniors, it's everything. Because rising from a chair without your hands requires a precise combination of lower body strength, hip mobility, core stability, and dynamic balance. Most people don't realize this until they suddenly can't do it anymore. That's when chairs become trapped. That's when independence starts slipping away. Let me tell you about Linda Pierce, 73, a retired school principal and grandmother of 5. Linda has always been active, never one for heavy workouts, but faithful in her walks, stretches, and simple bodyweight exercises. One day during a family gathering, her grandson playfully challenged her to stand up from the floor without using her hands. She laughed, took the challenge, and rose in one graceful motion. The children were stunned. Most people your age, her daughter-in-law whispered later, need help with that. Linda smiled and said, I don't want to be most people, but here's the truth. Most people her age can't. And it's not because of laziness. It's because strength loss is sneaky. You lose a little muscle each year after 40, but if you don't fight back with regular use, that loss compounds, and soon chairs become more than a place to rest. They become obstacles. And the ability to rise without help becomes a symbol of power. What does the research say? Seniors who can rise unaided from a seated position are more likely to avoid falls, maintain independence, and live longer. Their joint health is better, their coordination sharper, their confidence higher, and once again, these are things no blood test will show you, but your body will. Rising from a chair isn't a task, it's a test. And if you can still pass it, now let me connect both of these signs, posture and chair mobility, with something even more profound. They are about verticality, the ability to move from grounded to standing, from rest to motion, from stillness to strength. These are not just physical traits. They are metaphors for the human experience of aging. Are you rising or are you shrinking? Are you standing tall or collapsing inward? Are you present and upright in the world or slowly fading into it? These are the deeper questions behind what may seem like mere movements. Remember Margaret, the yoga-loving 73-year-old who got up after falling at the creek? Let me finish her story. After that moment on the hike, her son quietly told her later that night, I was ready to call 911, Mom. I thought you were hurt. But the way you got up, like it was nothing, I think you shocked all of us. Margaret replied, I didn't even think. My body just knew what to do. That's why I move every day. I'm not trying to be young. That word, ready, captures the essence of these signs. Because aging isn't about preventing everything. It's about being ready for anything. It's about preserving your tools so that when life tests you through a slip, a stumble, a crisis, you don't just survive, you stand. And Frank, after improving his posture, he started teaching his grandchildren posture games. Wall sits, invisible string tugs, they love it. He told me, I'm not just passing down stories, I'm passing down habits. That to me is the most powerful form of elderly wisdom. Not just quotes, not just nostalgia, but physical legacies, movements, routines, behaviors that shape generations. So now I ask you, can you still sit upright without slumping? Can you stand up from a chair without pushing off your knees? If the answer is yes, honor it, protect it, train it. If the answer is no, don't despair. Begin today. Strength is rebuildable. Posture is teachable, mobility is earnable, and dignity is restored. As we wrap up, remember what these two signs truly represent. Posture and rising ability are not just physical skills. They are blueprints of your aging. They are the difference between passive aging and powerful aging. They are how we stay vertical in a world that wants us to shrink. And if you still have them, you are rare. You are remarkable. You are living proof that aging can be strong. Up next, we'll explore the final two signs of exceptional aging. Balance and load-bearing ability. These two reveal whether you can carry life's literal and figurative weight in your later years. We'll revisit Linda and discover the moment that forced her to rely on her strength. And we'll open a new chapter with a woman named Emma, 80 years old, who shocked her family when she stood up from the floor during a moment no one expected. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. You are not aging to disappear. You are aging to deepen, to sharpen, and to rise. Keep watching as we reveal the final insights, because what's coming may just change how you view the rest of your life. There's something uniquely powerful about watching an 80-year-old woman rise effortlessly from the ground. Her movements controlled, her breath steady, her eyes calm, not because she's trying to prove anything, but because she can. That woman's name is Emma Rhodes, and what she did one afternoon on her living room floor changed how her entire family saw aging. We'll return to her story shortly, but first you need to know what her body was really showing us. Because balance and the ability to carry weight without strain are not just simple markers of physical health. They are predictors of your future independence, resilience, and quality of life. In fact, they may be two of the most accurate reflections of how well you're aging, far beyond blood tests or age on paper. So far, we've explored 4 rare signs of exceptional aging: grip strength, the ability to get up from the floor; posture, and the power to rise from a chair without hands. Now, we arrive at the last 2 signs: your balance and your ability to carry weight. If you're over 65, 75, even 81, and can still do these with ease, you are not just in shape for your age, you are part of a rare and remarkable group. You are showing the world that growing older doesn't mean giving in. It means standing tall, walking steady, and carrying life on your own terms. Let's begin with balance. If you can stand on one leg for more than 10 seconds without wobbling or reaching for support, you are doing far better than most of your peers. Balance is often the first thing to go as we age, but we don't realize it until it's too late. The simple act of standing on one foot engages your core, hips, ankles, and most importantly, your brain. That's right, balance isn't just about muscles, it's about the nervous system, reflexes, and your brain's ability to process spatial information quickly. When you lose balance, it's not just your body, it's your brain signaling distress. That's why poor balance is linked not just to falls, but to cognitive decline, shorter lifespan, and even depression. Yet the good news is, balance can be trained. It can be rebuilt. And when you still have it, it's a clear sign that your body and mind are in sync. Let me take you back to a man we met earlier, Frank Delaney. After recovering from his icy fall, he began to focus not only on strength and posture, but on balance. His doctor challenged him to try something simple: stand on one leg while brushing his teeth. At first, he could barely manage 4 seconds without tipping, but he stuck with it. He practiced heel-to-toe walking in the hallway, stood on cushions to test his coordination, even closed his eyes briefly while balancing to test his proprioception. Within 3 months, Frank could stand on one foot for 15 seconds. Now he does 20 seconds easily each morning and evening. And what surprised him most wasn't just the numbers, it was how confident he began to feel walking outside, even on uneven paths. He told me, "I don't think twice when I step off a curb now. I just move." That's the power of balance. It doesn't just protect you, it liberates you. But if balance is about standing, the final sign is about movement, about bearing load, about the ability to carry what life gives you: groceries, grandkids, chairs, responsibilities without strain, without shortness of breath, without needing help. The ability to carry weight comfortably is a full-body expression of functional strength. And it's one of the clearest independent in the years ahead, because when you lose that ability, when even holding a bag becomes effortful, you begin to need help for everything. And that's when independence slips away, quietly, sometimes without you noticing. Let me bring in a story that stayed with me for a long time. Walter Hughes, a 75-year-old retired teacher from Vermont, once said he didn't realize how much strength mattered until he saw younger men at the supermarket struggling with their bags. "I lifted mine into the car no problem," he told me. "One of them asked if I needed help. I told him, I've been doing this longer than you've been alive." Walter didn't mean to show off. He was simply surprised that after all these years his body still responded, still worked, still cooperated. And the reason? For decades he kept using it. Daily walks, hand exercises, carrying groceries by hand instead of using carts. Every day he gave his muscles a reason to stay alive. And they did. His doctor told him later that grip strength and load bark ability are now considered better indicators of future survival than almost anything else. Because the ability to carry weight means your heart is working, your bones are dense, your joints are mobile, and your nervous system is firing properly. Now let's come back to Emma. At 80 years old, she was sitting on the floor, playing with her grandkids, something she'd always loved to do. But this time her daughter noticed something. When it was time to get up, Emma didn't ask for help. She placed one hand on the ground, planted one foot, and lifted herself in a single motion. No hesitation, no wobble, no noise. Her grandson clapped, her daughter gasped, and Emma, she simply smiled. Later that evening, her daughter told her, "Mom, I know people 20 years younger than you who can't do that." Emma replied with a laugh, "I know. That's why I never stopped moving." What Emma revealed in that moment wasn't just movement, it was mastery. She had maintained the full sequence, balance, coordination, strength, and grace. And she didn't even think about it. That's what exceptional aging looks like. It's not loud, it's not flashy, it's quiet control. It's being able to move through life without asking for permission. So now I ask you, can you stand on one leg for 10 seconds? Can you carry your shopping bags without strain or hesitation? If yes, you are in a rare group of seniors. Not just healthy, but functional. Not just surviving, but thriving. But if you can't, then now's the perfect time to begin. Start small. Stand on one foot while washing dishes. Walk with light weights. Use stairs instead of elevators when possible. These aren't workouts, these are lively building habits. To summarize all 6 signs we've explored in this journey. Number 1, strong grip strength. Number 2, getting up from the floor without assistance. Number 3, good upright posture. Number 4, rising from a chair without using your hands. Number 5, the ability to balance on one leg. Number 6, the ability to carry weight easily. Each of these reveals not just how old you are, but how well you are aging. They are functional indicators, markers of resilience, and most importantly, predictors of whether you'll remain independent in the years ahead. If you still have all 6, cherish them, train them, share your routines with others. If you have some but not all, let's close with a reflection. Aging is inevitable, but decline is not. We do not have to surrender to the idea that old age means weakness, frailty, or fading away. We can choose to age with strength, with clarity, with dignity. We can follow the lead of people like Frank, Margaret, Linda, Walter, and Emma, not because they are special, but because they are consistent, because they kept showing up for their bodies, because they believed that life still had more to offer, and that they still had more to give. This is what elderly reflections should be. Not stories of loss, but stories of quiet power. Stories of seniors who turned the tide, who aged with intention, who showed us that every year added can be a year gained, not just survived. This is the inspiration we need. This is the senior wisdom we should pass on. Not warnings, but blueprints. Not fear, but strength. If this journey resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment and tell us, which of the 6 signs do you still have? Which one are you working on? And what's one life lesson from the elderly that you hold close? Because in the end, this isn't just about movement, it's about meaning. It's about reclaiming the years that others write off, and proving every day that we are not done yet, we are just getting started.